Downtown Goes Uptown and the Live Oak Arts Festival. What's it all about? You'll find out coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio. We're focused on Conway, Main Street, USA, and we're visiting with its director, Stephen Bush. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning. How are you, Greg?
Thanks so much for coming in. It's so exciting. I think you all have so many amazing things coming up, not only in the next couple days, but in the next couple months.
Well, we're always very busy in Conway, trying to do more to bring people in.
And you all are doing that on a constant basis. I mean, truly, this is a non-stop, 24/7 job for you.
Yeah, it is. Just like Myrtle Beach is a non-stop, 24/7 place, Conway is sort of the same thing.
Right, right. What brought you to Conway, Stephen?
Really, it was just a job. I had never heard of Conway before I read about the job in the paper. And then they called me up and said, why don't you come on down? And I was living out by Clemson at the time. And I didn't realize that Conway was as far away in South Carolina as you could be and still be in the state. So I loaded up my car and I drove on down, and that was it.
So, you got the job on the spot, or is this, you loaded up the car, I mean, you applied for it? And
I drove down, applied, and, I got it a couple days later.
That's fantastic. Are you originally from the Clemson area?
No, I'm a New Yorker.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
With that good southern accent?
No one's ever said that to me before.
Now's the first time. That's
right.
Yeah.
But I grew up in the suburbs of New York City.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, what originally brought you down to Clemson area of South Carolina?
Well, I ran a historical society called the Pendleton Historical Society, and that's what brought me down here.
Tell the viewers a little bit about that position. What was going on in Pendleton? What opened that up?
Pendleton's a great little historic town in the upstate, and I love the upstate. Great hiking, great trees, great mountains. And I just came on down and worked in this little historic town, had 2 historic home museums, lots of antebellum plantations. It was really a lovely place.
That must have been. I think I saw, Stephen, you've got a master's in museum science from Texas Tech. You were out in Texas for a little while.
Yeah, that actually caused me a bit of a problem because I moved right near Clemson right after Texas Tech beat Clemson in one of the bowl games.
Oh,
so it's a little animosity when I moved there.
Oh, yeah.
But Texas was great. I'd always wanted to go. When grad school came up, I said, hey, I'm going to go to Texas and see what it's like.
Share with viewers a little about museum science. What's a master's in getting a master's in museum science? What exactly is museum science?
Everybody always asks these questions. And if you just look at America, think of how many museums there are. Every city, every state, every county, even lots of towns have their own museums. And what I focused on there was administration. Doing our special events, putting up the exhibits, all the nonprofit rules. There's really a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of it was management-based.
When you say management-based, what do you mean management-based?
Well, we did a lot of business classes. That just comes up so many times. We have, the tax laws of the nonprofit, and then donations, and then, dealing with the insurance, and just lots of legal things that come up with museums, such as, having artifacts from other countries and other time periods and ownership. It's a really fascinating field that sort of has been developing over the last several years.
Do you get into grant writing in a master's in museum science, or is that more focused on, would there be masters in nonprofit work?
Yeah, it is something that you focus on. It is a class. There's so many varied, classes that you can do when you're in that program. You can do everything from basically hanging pictures on walls all day long to grant writing administration.
I think I also saw, Stephen, you'd gotten a Juris Doctorate, a law degree from a school up in New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce.
Yeah, that was Franklin Pierce Law Center, and I went there right after grad school. I felt I needed to learn something more besides, just the basics. And originally, I was all into working in a museum one day. And I thought, the law comes up so many times. It's so useful. And I think it's much easier to get a law degree than it was to get my doctorate in history or something like that. So that's what I chose.
You attended law school for 3 years. Obviously found it out pretty heavy. What prompted you not to actually practice law?
I never wanted to practice law.
Never wanted? You just wanted to attend school for...
Forever.
Yeah.
That's what my mother says. I think I'm just sort of, that new breed who sees it as a valuable part of my education, a valuable part of my resume in years to come.
Right.
And I went to go learn the law. And that's much different than South Carolina. It snowed on my graduation on May 18th.
Oh, God.
Just, and I don't think they've had snow here yet for a while.
Not for a little while. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. My grandmother practiced law in North Carolina for a little north of 7 decades, and she always talked about the legal practice or going to law school as getting a gentleman's education, much akin to what you're talking about in that aspect of getting some basic underpinnings there.
I think it really helped me understand a lot of what's going on. You learn so much through experience, and I just thought I'd give myself a head start on that. In law school, I don't think it's as tough as people say it was. I was told to look at it as a 9-to-5 job by some of my friends who were, a couple years ahead of me.
Right.
They said, you go in at 9, you come home at 5, it's not that bad.
And that worked.
Barely, but it worked.
Yeah. You got through. That's right.
I got through.
That's exciting. Well, have you seen at Conway Main Street USA the opportunity to take advantage of your legal degree?
Well, it's something that always pops up every now and then. Little issues. I mean, I do not practice as an attorney, so
Right.
I don't give anyone advice.
Sure.
But, when you hear these issues, you can help them, guide them to where they should go and what they should do. And it really helps you just learn how to think sometimes. And it allows you to focus. And I think it opened up a lot of opportunities to me.
I'm sure. Do you still get back to Westchester, New York much?
Not as much as I'd like to visit my family and friends up there. The last time I was back was about 2 months ago for a long weekend,
Right.
but I had gone up to Saratoga, which is up in the mountains, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
A hot summer day there is 85 and no humidity, so I love it.
That must be fantastic. Have you gotten your family to come down and visit much since you arrived?
Not yet. I have an uncle in Atlanta, and I drove out there to meet everybody during the spring. They all went there. But they're looking at coming down here in the winter. When it's 2 feet of snow and 20 degrees in New York, that's when they're going to come down and enjoy the Grand Strand.
Right. Now, when did you actually join Conway Main Street USA?
I moved down here in mid-February, and I started just about the day I moved down. And it's been fun ever since.
Okay. Share with the viewers, break down Conway Main Street, exactly when it was set up and a little bit of its background.
Well, the Main Street program is about 18 years old. We were started in 1986, and it is one of the first Main Street programs in South Carolina. These programs have been started across the country, but I think we were the third one in this state. And the goal of the program is to stimulate economic development within the context of historic preservation and promotion, which means we want more businesses downtown. We want our downtown to be a thriving place filled with people and vitality and jobs. And the Main Street program works towards that. They help clean up the downtown. We help facilitate grants so people can fix up their storefronts. We encourage business to come down. We encourage tourism. And we do special events, which are a great way of getting our name out in the paper, out in the news, and introducing Conway to more and more people.
When you talk about economic development through historic preservation, how does that tie in on a pretty regular basis? So there's quite a bit of history in downtown Conway?
There is. Downtown Conway was where really Myrtle Beach got started. Before there was golf, there was Conway since 1732 or way back then. And this was the economic capital of much of the area for a long time. Now everything's moved towards the beach with the bigger businesses and all the tourism. But Conway's still the county seat. It's where a lot of people and places and businesses got started. And if you just drive through downtown, you see the old brick buildings, the old facades, the beautiful structures, and that is part of the history of the area. And people come just to see, the tourist attractions, the 100-something-year-old homes we have in Conway. And then people like to shop in the downtown area. The brick buildings, the beautiful storefronts, it makes you feel like you're back in the 20s or the 30s. And it's a much different atmosphere than shopping someplace, say, like the mall.
Right.
Our stores are different. They're owned by small businesses. And when you walk into a store, you meet the owner, and you meet the sales manager, and everything all wrapped in one person. And these are the people that, if you live in Conway, you go to church with, your kids go to school with them, you know them on a day in and day out basis, and you get great personal service. And it's just a different shopping experience.
So there's similar Main Street to USA programs in communities throughout the PD or southeastern North Carolina even?
Oh, there's over 20 of them in this state, and we all get together 4 times a year and discuss what's going on and help each other out. And there are some great programs, and you could see some small towns who just have programs just getting started.
Right.
And they're looking to fix up their downtowns and bring people back in.
Marion has a similar program.
I believe it does.
Right.
Well, I was at a meeting in Sumter, and that program is so different because it's so much larger than Conway, but we all have the same goals, and we all sort of do the same things.
What are some of the biggest challenges you all face going forward, Stephen?
I think some of the challenges we face is getting everyone to work together. If you looked at Conway 20 years ago, there were storefronts that were boarded up. There were people who thought no one was ever going to come back to Conway. They thought it was dead. And yet we had to convince people that it's a thriving place, that it's a place where you can put your money and you can be successful. And we're still working on that. Just recently, they're just about to finish the Blackwater Market. And the Haberdashery and the Herdashery are two great stores, and they're building it, and they're moving in there. And it's an area that holds apartments. There's 6 apartments. There'll be 6 stores, and it's called Fine Shopping, Dining, and Living. And that's just part of the new Conway. That's a huge new construction that somebody put a lot of money in. And we're really glad that they did that, and they see that Conway is a place where they can succeed.
Now, for viewers in the PD or southeastern North Carolina who are coming down to visit to Conway for the first time, easiest way to get into to Main Street, just coming down 501. What's the best way? Let's say they were coming from Marion.
Well, if you come down 501, you might drive past Conway or downtown Conway and never see it. When you get to all those stores and the strip malls, that's part of Conway. That's the new Conway. That's a great thriving part of Conway. But what you have to do is you have to make a left.
Right.
Somewhere around just past the Walmart or where the Walgreens is, you make a left, you go to your second light and make a right, and that is old Conway. That is the historic downtown you're getting into. You'll start to see homes there that are 100+ years old. You see the giant live oak trees, which Conway has been built around, and some of them are well over 200 years old. And that is the heart of Conway. That was where everything started.
You know, with the effects of Hurricane Francis hitting the area this past weekend, of course, some of those trees, there was a lot of angst in the community thinking about trees, particularly with all the sopping weather we've been getting. So I know all of us were impacted dramatically by that, but it's exciting to know a lot of those oaks are still up and going strong.
Well, if you see some of them have circumference that's 20 foot in diameter almost. So they've survived a lot of hurricanes. I think they will be here long after we're gone.
That's right. That's right. Those are good words. How is Conway Main Street USA funded, Stephen?
We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We get a generous contribution from the city to help with downtown development. We have a great membership which provides lots of development. And then we have donations, sponsors, and every year we have a big fundraiser called Downtown Goes Uptown, which is our black tie event, and we all get dressed up, and each year we have a theme for that event. And this year that's going to be November 13th at the Peanut Warehouse, which is where we always have it. It is a huge downtown structure of a historic peanut warehouse, and it'll be fun. Our theme is the medieval, and Medieval Times is going to come out and help us decorate and set up. So we're looking forward to it every year.
Great. How exciting. What a great niche there with medieval, with the Medieval Times.
We just lucked out that they're right down the road, and I ran into them at one of the events. I said, hey, how'd you like to come over and we'll give you a free dinner and you could be our sponsor and help us out, and they jumped right on board.
Absolutely, and that's on November 13th. If a viewer, now could viewers from, let's say, the PD or southeastern North Carolina come in to help support that event, or is that closed just to Conway Main Street members?
Oh, no, we're always looking for new people to come and support. The Peanut Warehouse is a giant, old, historic structure. It's very unique if you've never seen it before. And we hold lots of events. Everyone in Conway comes to the Peanut Warehouse. It's the place where they have weddings and receptions. And being a New Yorker, when I first saw it, I thought, if I had a wedding in here, my mom would kill me. But everyone in Conway loves it. It's an icon. It's a historic building. It's just a beautifully unique structure, and it's part of our history, and everyone loves coming down there.
Speaking of structures in Conway, where is the Conway Main Street headquartered? Do you all have a physical office, or is it just, where's it principally located?
We are located in the Chamber of Commerce building. We rent an office from them. They built that new building several years ago. It's just been, it's great to be in there because a lot of things we do are similar to what the Chamber of Commerce does. So it allows us to work together, to understand what each other's doing. We don't step on each other's toes.
And of course, if you wanted to learn more about the Downtown Goes Uptown, what would be the best number for them to call? Now, do you all sell tickets for that event?
Yes, we sell tickets, and they can just call me at my office, which is 843-248-6260, and just ask about the event, or maybe they can find it on our webpage.
Yeah, what's that web address?
You're going to put me on the spot here. I think it's ConwayMainStreet.com.
Of course, that's right. Of course, you don't need to visit there a lot because I'm sure it's it's maintained and kept current. Of course, y'all have so many amazing events coming up other than the Downtown Goes Uptown fundraiser on November 13th. Obviously, this Thursday, in a little more than 2 days, we're kicking off your South Carolina Education Television live broadcasting.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. That is actually not something Main Street really set up. We just facilitated the event. SCE-TV has been broadcasting throughout the state over the last year and a half. And as they update their transmitters, they come out and they do what's called the SCE-TV Roadshow. And I had known they were going around the state, so I called them up. I said, hey, when's Conway's turn? Because whenever I turn on NPR radio, you always hear that it's broadcast from Conway. That's the first time I ever heard Conway was on NPR, just like that. So I called them up. I asked them when they're coming. And they said, oh, we'll be there sometime in the early fall. And I invited them down. I gave them a tour. I put them up at the Cypress Inn Bed and Breakfast, which is a beautiful bed and breakfast on the river in Conway. And they loved it. So they're going to come down in, 2 days? And they're going to broadcast live various times throughout the day. We're going to do a little street fair in honor of them. We're going to have music and food, antique cars, and we're going to do a preview of our Live Oak Arts Festival that day and have local artists set up on the street. They're closing one of the streets down. It'll be a great day, especially during lunch and dinner when we're really going to have everybody come out for those meals. And I forgot, there's going to be a farmer's market going on all day long.
That'll kick off at what time?
Well, they start setting up at 7. That's when I'll be there. But it really doesn't kick off until about 9 o'clock. And then again, during lunch and dinner are really the 2 best times. And I think we're going to be doing a plant swap.
Yeah, I saw that from 11 to 2.
Yep. And it's odd because I'm not a gardener, but I just love the idea of people being able to dig up the plants they don't want in their yard and coming down and trading them with other gardeners. And it's just a good way to meet people who have your same interest.
You said at noon they'll start broadcasting live.
Yeah, they're taping, they're going to broadcast live a radio show called Your Day, and they're going to interview several people throughout there. At 3 o'clock, they're going to tape a segment of Walter Edgar's Journal, which they're going to air Friday. And Walter Edgar does great history. That's a great segment to be around. And between 7 and 9, they're doing 2 other shows, which will be broadcast live on TV. One is called their Signature Show, which is when they interview local people and they're going to talk about Conway and talk about the roadshow experience. And then from 8 till 9, they're going to do a bluegrass show, which is a brand new show for ETV. And they're going to have a band there at that time. There's going to be music and people. It should be lots of fun.
How exciting. Golly. And, of course, you talked about earlier in the afternoon, y'all are doing a preview of the Live Oaks Arts Festival, which is kicking off, I believe, in early October.
It's October 2nd.
Okay.
What happened is when I moved here, I saw that there were arts in Conway. We have the great, Theater of the Republic right there on Main Street. And we have 4 artists who have galleries open in Conway. And I could walk to all of them within 3 blocks of each other. Then we have people like Conway Glass, which is located just outside the downtown. They do beautiful stained glass. We have Jennings Chestnut, I'm sorry.
Right. Jennings Chestnut, right next door to Lucky Dog.
That's right. He does those great mandolins, handmade. He has them in museums, and people travel from all over just to get their hands on one of his pieces. They're gorgeous.
You're right.
And I looked at, all this art that was in the community, and I thought, hey, let's do an art event. And I sat down, and I talked to a few people, and all of a sudden they ran with it. It was just waiting to happen. And that'll be a great day for us to focus on Conway. Local artists are coming out. So many people in Conway I found out paint or draw or photography. It's amazing. And then regional artists are going to be there. The Theater of the Republic is going to be open from 11 till 6, giving free concerts for free all day long. So you can come in and see Shakespeare, or you can see music, or whatever's going on there for 7 hours. There'll be strolling musicians all throughout the streets of Conway that day. We're closing down Main Street. There'll be art, antiques. It'll just be a great day to come out, stroll around, see what there is. If you've never seen Conway, this is my suggestion for the best day to see it. There'll be sales and activities and lots of fun.
Saturday, October 2nd. And of course, this really kicks off at 9 and ends at 9. It's a good 12-hour day.
That's right. At nighttime, we're having what's called our gala, and we're having a special concert over at the Theater of the Republic.
Right.
And we're going to auction off some of the best pieces of art from some of the vendors that day. So we're really excited about this event. It's a new thing, and you hear about the arts so much. Carolina has such a wealth of arts that I never thought of until I moved here. You don't think of the arts when you're living in New York and 40 minutes from Broadway.
Right.
And then I come down here and I got to see Spoleto, That was a great festival.
Right.
Right now, Pawleys Island has a great festival going on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's in Conway, too.
You're right. It is incredible. And of course, is it Kim Clayton who has an art gallery there? Is it on Main Street, close by?
Kim Clayton has the Blackwater Gallery. That's
Right.
on Main Street.
Okay.
Lon Calhoun, who did our print for the Live Oak Art Festival, he's on 3rd Avenue. He was actually the first artist to move into Conway and to open up a gallery.
Is that right?
And he does a lot of local art. And before he opened up, the local art was done by Shirley Terry. And they have a frame shop, and she started doing pictures of the bridge, and I think she did the courthouse, and the river, and all these beautiful prints. And that's what Lon started doing. And Lon actually has a gallery, and he just has wonderful portraits of people in these great Conway pieces. And we also have Joanne Adams and Jack Hayton, who are our 2 newest artists.
Golly, how exciting, Steve, and a whole lot going into that. Now, who's helped putting that together with you? Who's helped organizing the event?
Well, we have lots of great volunteers. The Theater of the Republic really has done a lot. I got their director, Tim McGee, to work on it, and he just has all sorts of people he can draw upon in the theater, and they're going to be open all day long on Saturday, and that's, you know, a lot of manpower. We're really thankful for that. And then Jim and Carol Ruddick from the Cypress Inn.
Oh, yeah.
I just asked Carol to come, and she dragged her husband along, so that's
Good
a
for
free
Carol.
person.
Yes.
And Lon Calhoun, who's also on my board of directors of Main Street. And I asked Larry Biddle came down and helped, and Barry Dennis from Crown and Country. And am I forgetting anyone?
I'm
sure
you're
I'm
always forgetting somebody, because there's so many volunteers that help make Conway Main Street tick.
It is. And for the last 20 years, there have been people who've devoted their whole lives the last 20 years just to helping us out. And you see them sweeping, pulling weeds on the side of the road, staying up late at these events. I remember the first event I witnessed when I was here was our annual Rivertown Jazz, which takes place the first weekend of May. And the event started on Saturday, and I met volunteers who took Thursday and Friday off of work, their vacation time, just to come out and work that event. And they were there for, 13 hours a day, setting that up, and it was just a great feeling to know these people pitch in so much.
Wow, Stephen. Talk real quick for the viewers about membership there. Who would be some of the folks who could subscribe as members? Are you limited exclusively, a membership limited just right there in Conway Main Street, or could folks interested in historic preservation?
Yeah, we have 4 different types of members, really. We have the downtown merchants, the people who have the businesses downtown, and they help us out because people see that as the most direct relationship to their business. Then we also have the homes, the historic homes downtown, and people really love that. With the downtown thriving, and I live on 6th Avenue and work on 3rd. I walk to work every morning. I pass. There are 12 restaurants on my way to work. I can get almost everything I need every day just walking to work. And it's that great downtown feeling. But we also get support from many great businesses who are not downtown. They just love supporting the downtown because, in a way, it is the heart and soul of Conway in many of the areas. And I tell people that, and they don't realize it. And we were speaking about it, and one of them went and looked at their bank card, and they realized that there's a picture of the Main Street Bridge on their bank card, and it's on your calendars, and it's on all those things you get downtown. It's sort of our identity. Your identity is not the strip mall. Your identity is the great historic clock and the town hall, which was designed by Robert Mills, who did the Washington Monument. And yet he did something right here in Conway. And then we have lots of individual supporters who don't live downtown, but they vacation to the Grand Strand, and they come down once a year for a few months, and they just love shopping, eating at the Trestle, Coppers, the Rivertown Bistro. They love the food. They love the shops.
For one of our viewers in the PD or southeastern North Carolina who may not have a Main Street USA program in their community, could they contact you to learn more?
Sure. We'd love to help them. We also have a South Carolina chapter, which is called Community Builders, and they're in Columbia, and they coordinate all the different chapters in South Carolina. And North Carolina has its own chapter, and there's even one in Washington, D.C., which is where everything got started.
How exciting. And, of course, so much history there in Washington, D.C. I'm sure on a constant basis you all are tapping them for great ideas.
Well, they actually didn't start the program in D.C. The reason the Main Street program was started was small towns were just falling apart, especially in the Midwest, which is where it started, because of strip malls and people moving out of the downtown. And I think it was the National Trust started it to help them revitalize. And that's what Conway has done. We have revitalized our downtown and made it a place to be.
Stephen, with that background with a master's in museum science, a Juris Doctorate, a law degree, as well as the experience there in Pendleton prior to arriving in Conway, if you weren't currently the director of Conway Main Street USA, what do you think you'd be doing?
I don't know. My mother says that I should go practice law and pay off my student loans like all my friends are doing and become rich. But I think I would always be doing something like this. The job I'm doing now in Conway is very similar to what I did up in Pendleton. Did a lot of community development. And before that, I always worked at museums or other nonprofits, community building. It's what I like to do. I like to go out and, make a difference.
Right. That's great. Stephen, thanks so much for being with us
Thank you,
morning.
Greg.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Stephen Bush coming up next. As we open the interview, Stephen answered that he'd come to the area for a job. As we wrap up, it sounds like he came to the area because it's his calling. Very exciting to think about Conway Main Street. He could easily take his mom's advice, pay off his student loans, get rich as an attorney, but of course that calling to be here to make a difference. You heard him use those very simple words, to make a difference in Conway. Bringing folks into Conway is a special thing. Take the time to head down there or tune in to South Carolina Educational Television live this Thursday at noon, or the Socastee Conway football game on Friday night. Stephen Bush.